Hello, everyone. Welcome to Presentation Hell today. Today we have a very exciting interviewee today. His name is Eric Ingram. He is the CEO of Scout, Spacecraft Observing and Understanding Things. This is very interesting stuff, and we welcome here today. So thank you, Eric. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So as an introduction, tell us a little bit about Scout.
Yeah, so we are a space company to start off. That usually catches people off guard. But space is a crowded environment, and over the next decade, the number of spacecraft are going to go up 40x. So we'll launch more satellites in the next decade than we will in the entirety of human history up until now. And the way we currently track satellites and space debris, while it works great now, it won't be able to keep up with that level of density and activity. So we're developing in-space systems and software and services to provide the next generation of space situational awareness, either on-board customer spacecraft or from independent spacecraft that we will manage and observe orbit-wide space traffic with.
It's almost like you're tracking everything in space.
I mean, that's pretty much it. So, we want to sense everything in space from space.
Oh, that's great. Who would be... All right, so... This is a big topic. It's obviously growing. Obviously, all the billionaires of the world are interested in shooting themselves into space, and that seems to be the next frontier. And I guess one of the biggest challenges is sitting down and explaining it to the layman, the people out in the audience. You have to present and say, this is who we are and why it is. Tell me some of your challenges.
Yeah, being in a complicated field and having a complicated product, I have to be able to explain it to a wide range per everything you just said. So I find it that as a CEO, if I'm not able to adequately explain it to everyone, I'm not doing my job well. So over the last 3 years, how long I've been running this company, I've been able to work on adapting the messaging per the audience. So at least I think I've gotten good at explaining things, from an aerospace engineer down to, a person I meet at Target or insert random store here.
So what you're saying, the intelligence that comes from being a CEO is looking at your audience and being able to articulate it properly. If you sit down with a couple PhDs, we can go into detail about neutrons and trajectories and things like that. But to the average person, there's orbiting spacecraft, and we just need to know where they are. We don't want them to hit each other, do we?
Well, so the thing is, for the average person, you have to tie it to things that are tangible to them.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if you use satellite TV, Dish Network, you're using spacecraft. If you've used any sort of GPS service, you're using spacecraft. If you're interested in Elon's Starlink internet, that's space-based things. And so being able to connect those dots to something tangibly that people interact with on a daily basis allows them to understand the importance. Like, nobody wants to lose the Super Bowl halfway through the fourth quarter, right? And so being able to say, well, if we know better where all the spacecraft and space junk is, and we can prevent collisions, then
that's important.
We can better preserve your Sunday night. Or
I assume there's no insurance for like a car accident or a space crash accident at this point. If it crashes, you lose your money.
It's the interest. The insurance market's very interesting around space, and there's a lot of interesting debate going on with the insurance community that I probably don't want to dive into here. But the level of risk in space is pushing insurers out of the market. So being able to de-risk space will actually make it more financially feasible for things like insurers to be able to insure spacecraft, and for more and more companies to be able to pursue their business models because they now have financial stability to do that.
Is this one of the core value equations of your company? Meaning, I'm sitting here wondering who's going to buy it. Why is it going to be valuable? I can see it being valuable, but who is going to, and you just mentioned insurance companies, they don't know how to manage the risk. This can help them articulate the risk and calculate a fee, so to speak.
Yeah, the insurance sector is a customer segment. But any users of the space commons, as I'll kind of describe it, will benefit from having better knowledge of their own spacecraft and better knowledge of what's going on around them. We have a framework right now for air traffic management, right? FAA manages all the airplanes, tells them where to go, and that is paid for by the government as well as users of the airspace. And so there will, in the very near future, be a model that is akin to that. And we are working to position ourselves to be able to service commercial, civil government, and defense customers with the kinds of data and capabilities we're developing.
Wow. That is a really growing area. How it makes me think, like, you know, we're at Startup of the Year here, and it's a presentation conference, and you're in front of people, speaking, telling, hopefully communicating. You mentioned that one of your most important assets is be able to communicate to people. Ironically, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates say the same thing. The biggest asset you can have in business is the ability to communicate with the people that are around you. And I just found that a little, it fits in that. To get into this industry, obviously it's not something you walk out and say, man, I'm going to launch a rocket and track it. Tell me a little bit about your history and what brought you through here, and what critical moments in your life said, hey, this is why I'm going to space.
So I've always been a big space nerd. So let's preface it with that. And so I knew I wanted to do something with space my entire life. In college and grad school, I got degrees, and most of a degree in physics and electrical engineering, and I found research that was as close to space research as possible. First job out of college, working for an asteroid mining company.
Asteroid mining.
Yeah, I was doing.
Sounds like a movie.
It was a little ahead of its time, but it was exciting. I was doing like grunt level engineering work. Everything rolls downhill, and I was at the Valley, and so I was doing that work, and that's where I found out I was a terrible engineer. So I stopped doing that. I went to work the nonprofit sector, both in and out of the space industry. And then I went to work for the government, actually the FAA Office of Commercial Space Transportation, doing licensing and regulating of the launch and reentry industry. So I got regulatory and government experience there. But, I was entrepreneurial at heart, so that's not...
So this took place I see here, in the Houston area? Is that the NASA? You went to the University of Houston?
I went to University of Houston for grad school. I actually worked for the FAA in D.C., so that pulled me to the D.C. area.
Okay.
And that's where I'm based out of now.
I went to the University of Houston as well.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why I say it. So,
Yeah.
Go Cougs.
Yeah, go Cougs. I attended, I will say. Graduation's TBD. But I had a great time there.
When were you there?
2014 to 2016.
Wow, wonderful place. It's grown up since I've been there.
Yeah, no, they just opened the new football stadium, and it was an exciting time. Still have a lot of friends there. So.
My heart is in the University of Houston and provided an entrepreneurial foundation that I've lived my life from. So I love the commonality, and I love those words coming out of your mouth when you speak about that.
Yeah, I took some entrepreneurship classes in grad school, so part of Red Labs, which is their kind of startup ecosystem at University of Houston. So I took some entrepreneurship classes there that kind of
framed... The Bauer School of Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It was great. It was great.
Well, I think the critical thing that you cross the divide here, and the divide I'm talking about is between something that's scientifically cool or physically cool and actually having the creative acumen to attach it to an actual business model. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's one thing to understand the rockets and they're out there and know there's debris and it's going to be a mess and people, you need traffic lights in space at this point. But it's different to say, I need traffic lights in space. How do I make it where someone is willing to pay me and I can work my life doing it and pay my mortgage and put my kids through school and have Nikes and have steak dinners when I want them and things like that.
Yeah.
That's the art of entrepreneurship, and I appreciate the way you've tied that together.
Yeah, it's not an overnight thing. We are a 3-year-old company, and we really only started getting significant traction, in the last year. Like, it was a slog the first 2 years to really build things up, and it wasn't, until, again, like the spring of 2021 where all of the pieces started connecting together and we started getting significant traction. So it's been an exciting ride. Everything's dynamic, but hopefully it'll all end up well.
Okay. As we wind up here, what is the most interesting thing in your trek here that you would want to share to people in our audience out there? Is like one moment where an asteroid fell in your backyard and you said, "Damn, this is where I want to be." Is there any one time that you like looked at and go, "Gosh, this is where I am and my heart's going that way"?
So the thing is, like, a lot of people in the space industry have that singular moment where they're like, "Oh, I saw the shooting star, and that was the moment I knew." I never had that moment. It was always just an innate thing. But I can say, last June, we launched our first payload to space, and I was able to go to the launch. Is actually down in, I guess I'm in Florida now, but down at Kennedy Space Center, and so I was able to attend in person and see the rocket launch, and knowing that I had something on that rocket, and it was the first time I've launched.
I'm getting chills listening.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
It was and it was the first time I had my own payload on a rocket. Like I never personally sent something to space before. It was fantastic, and like that reaffirmed and was a moment that solidified a lot of the work that I'd done up until then.
You just mentioned how motivation, how serotonin hits your brain and makes you want to do things, and you remember things in life, and that's special, those type of events.
Yeah.
Very much so. So, Eric, I'd like to thank you for having you here. If you'd like to take a moment and tell us about your company, any statement you want to say as before we wind up.
Yeah, go to scout.space as our website. Check it out. We are hiring right now, so trying to fill the voids there.
What type of jobs are you hiring for?
So we just finished up our internship stuff, so apologies to all the potential interns out there. But we're hiring for computer vision engineers, guidance, navigation, and control software engineers, flight software engineers, and business development people for both the commercial and government side of business.
You hear that? Business development. You will get to call Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos as potential clients.
Well, or they're
not literally, but that's the big kahuna
or
of them.
Subordinates. yeah. And just the thing, like, anybody can work in the space industry. Also, I want to say, like, there's a lot of people that put the space industry on a pedestal and think you need the right stuff to do it. We have plenty of engineers in the space industry, and we have plenty of people that all look alike. We need more diversity in backgrounds, more diversity in education and experience. And if you are interested in space and the space industry, there is probably a job available for you right now because the industry is growing like crazy.
See, that's interesting. Knowing how to present yourself to the space industry, knowing there's opportunities for everyone in it. It's not just the geeks out there like us. But so come on board. So Eric, thank you very much for coming out. It's wonderful. I look for a lot of success with Scout, and I wish you my best.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Take care.